Welcome to NYC Now, your source for local news in and around New York City from WNYC. It's Thursday, August 28th. Here's the Midday News. I'm Janae Pierre. Out of New York City's 5 boroughs, the Bronx has the most vehicles with illegal out-of-state ghost plates that help drivers avoid tolls and fines. That's according to a new city council investigation out today. In a citywide sample, investigators found 1 in 5 vehicles without New York plates either had temporary plates that didn't match the vehicle registration, or no plates at all. The council says drivers of these vehicles are more likely to owe more in outstanding fines. They are also more likely to evade tolls, speed in school zones, and block fire hydrants. A new report from Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso highlights the stark differences among the borough's neighborhoods, not always in good ways. WNYC's Arun Vanakapal has more.
The report is packed with intra-borough factoids like this one. Bushwick had a 27% rate of failed rat inspections in 2024, or 169 times as bad as Canarsie. The report, known as the 2025 Comprehensive Plan for Brooklyn, is meant to highlight inequities. Some neighborhoods, like Williamsburg and Carroll Gardens, are blessed with more parks, transit, and schools than others, like Red Hook or Coney Island. The borough president says these disparities should guide development decisions far more than they typically do, and he's urging other boroughs to come up with their own plans to address inequality.
A look at your forecast on this lovely Thursday. It's 75 degrees currently, a few clouds out there. It'll be sunny today with highs in the upper 70s. Partly cloudy skies ahead tonight with lows in the mid-60s.
Stay close. There's more after the break.
WNYC.
It's All Things Considered on WNYC. I'm Sean Carlson. It is time for Politics Brief, our weekly segment where we break down the news out of both City Hall and Albany. Today, it's a double dose of Albany. We're joined by WNYC's John Campbell and Jimmy Vielkind from New York's capital city. All right, Jimmy, we're going to start with you. President Trump has already sent the National Guard into Washington, D.C. Now, he says it's to combat crime. He's also raised the possibility of sending soldiers into New York, too. Governor Hochul says she spoke to the president about it. What can you tell us about that conversation?
Well, I can tell you that it happened on Saturday.
Okay.
We don't know how long they spoke, but I imagine it was pretty quickly because Hochul's message had 2 letters, N and O.
Okay.
She told the president, no thanks. I don't really need this to make the city safe. And she also noted that crime is down. And, let's take a listen to what she said.
I was very gracious. I just said, I'll tell you what, Mr. President, if I think I need help from the National Guard beyond what I'm already doing, I know where to find you.
Hochul also said she told Trump that the state has tightened up its bail laws. Some listeners might remember that in 2019, Democrats in the state of New York changed the bail laws to eliminate cash bail for most misdemeanor and nonviolent felony offenses. That has caused a firestorm because it coincided with a spike in crime during the COVID-19 pandemic, and Trump and other Republicans seized on it as part of their justification this week for mobilizing troops and sending them into cities. There was some discussion of that, as well as Trump and Hochul's reply to Trump during a marathon cabinet meeting on Tuesday. There was a reporter who asked Trump about it. Let's take a listen.
Kathy Hochul said that she spoke to you on the phone, and you said you might send National Guard troops to New York. You mentioned that. So will you?
I'd love to do it. If she'd like, I get along with Kathy. If she'd like to do that, I would do it.
Yeah, that's a big contrast to what Trump had to say about some of the other Democratic officials, including Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker.
Yeah, and it's important to note here, too, that the rules for the National Guard are different for Washington, D.C. than they are for each of the 50 states. It's easier for President Trump to send the National Guard into D.C. In the states, like New York, governors are the commanders-in-chief for their National Guard. And another thing, too, Governor Hochul actually did send the National Guard into the New York City subway system just last year. I mean, they're still there. You probably still see them at a lot of your subway stops.
Yeah, can we talk about that? Because, ultimately, we're making a lot of hay about Trump sending the National Guard to Washington. But like you said, Hochul's already done that here. She sent the National Guard into the subways amid a string of high-profile crimes in the subway system last year. They are still there. Folks probably see them all the time, right? So how is what Trump is doing in Washington, D.C. any different than that?
Yeah, Sean, the governor has pushed back pretty hard against any comparison between the two. For one, the New York National Guard has been working in collaboration with the NYPD and MTA police. Initially, they were there to kind of assist police officers at these bag checks going into subway stations. Now they're kind of more of a visual presence in the camo uniforms. Mm-hmm. Whereas in Washington, Trump sent the Guard in over the mayor's objections there, which that's what Hochul says is the big difference. There is a big similarity in that both Trump and Hochul deployed soldiers to combat crime or deter crime, as Hochul says. And every day you can still find those uniformed soldiers in the subway system, whether it's at Barclays Center in Brooklyn or, the Washington Square stop in Manhattan. They've been spotted there in recent weeks.
Yeah. Okay, let's shift to the New York City mayor's race. The latest polling shows Democrat Zohran Mamdani continues to be the frontrunner. John, you dug into his record as a state assembly member for this week's Politics Brief newsletter. What did you learn?
Yeah, we decided to take a look at the bills that Zohran Mamdani has co-sponsored in Albany this year, and that's about 240 or so bills. And part of the reason we did that is because Andrew Cuomo, one of his main rivals in the mayoral race, has kind of ramped up his criticism of Mamdani's record in recent weeks.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in that legislative record that's good political fodder. So I've been waiting for this to happen. What is Cuomo highlighted, John?
Yeah, well, one bill that he's highlighted is a bill that would decriminalize prostitution in many cases. And that's one of many bills that Mamdani has co-sponsored. And when you look at these bills, they kind of give you a window into his platform, even if many of these bills, the vast majority of these bills, didn't pass. A lot of these bills that he signed on to kind of fit into the themes of his mayoral campaign. There were bills to hike taxes on the rich and hike taxes on corporations and capital gains. And he himself has a bill to put 3 free bus routes in each borough, and he signed on to another bill to make state college tuition free. And then there's some of the kind of what I would call perennial bills that are reliably supported by those on the left, including Mamdani. That includes the New York Health Act, which would create a single-payer universal health plan in New York.
Yeah, all of that really is pretty much on brand. And I think it's one of the reasons that business groups and some wealthy New Yorkers who have sternly opposed these measures for years are so worried about Mamdani. They just say that he supports policies that will cost billions of dollars to implement for the government. But it's also pretty clear. He is a democratic socialist. He'd be proud to tell you about it. So I don't know that this means much of anything. I also think, though, it's worth noting that most of these bills that Mamdani signed his name to didn't pass. You already said that, John, but I think it's 15 of them that passed both houses of the legislature this year. Now, that's not unusual, the way Albany works. Lots of things get introduced, a few of them pass, and fewer of them get signed into law. Literally, there are thousands of measures that are never put to a vote. So, lawmakers sometimes sign on as co-sponsors, knowing that they're making a statement, not necessarily making a law.
Yeah. Well, let's drill a little deeper on all of this. Jimmy, both Mayor Adams and Andrew Cuomo have been critical of Mamdani's record in Albany. They say he hasn't passed many bills. They say he missed a third of this year's legislative session. Fact check that for us. Is that true? And you think it'll resonate with voters?
It is true that Mamdani hasn't passed many bills. He's been the lead sponsor of just 4 that have made it through the legislature. Albany is a seniority-based system, so that's not so surprising for a newbie. But fact check, true. And on the question of attendance, it's also true that Mamdani did miss a lot of votes this year while he was running for mayor. The Albany Times-Union tallied up those figures, and they found that Mamdani missed 24 of the 71 days where the legislature was in session for the year. A lot of those absences did come in the heart of his mayoral campaign. Remember, the primary was in June, and that's just as the legislature wraps up its lawmaking time. So there was a big deal of overlap as a crunch period there.
And we should also note, too, Mamdani did get a big legislative win in 2023. That's when he and State Senator Mike Gianaris were able to get a free transit pilot program into the state budget, which is a big part of his campaign now. Mm-hmm. In that pilot program, they made one bus route free in each of New York City's boroughs for 1 year, although Mamdani has not been able to get that re-upped and expanded like he had hoped to.
WNYC's Jimmy Vielkind and John Campbell. As always, thanks so much.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.
That's Politics Brief. If you want to hear more from our politics team, be sure to sign up for emails at gothamist.com/newsletters.
Thanks for listening. This is NYC Now from WNYC. Catch us every weekday, 3 times a day, for your top news headlines and occasional deep dives. And subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. More soon.